Hi guys, and welcome to Love Yourself to Success podcast. I'm your host Aaliyah.
And I'm Chanel.
And we'll be discussing all things self-love related.
We'll be discussing unselfish self-love,
healing practices,
deep wisdom,
empowerment,
universal concepts,
manifestation,
mindset shift,
boundaries,
and communication,
reinvention,
and real deep truths.
This is Self-Love Redefined. So hi guys, we're back for another episode and we've got a very special guest on today. Goes by the name of Fola. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name's Fola. I'm a financial consultant. I run a social media page, mainly Instagram, called Sterling's Financial Solutions.
Go follow.
Lovely, yes, worth the follow. Definitely worth the follow.
And tell us a bit about your journey. What brought you to the point where you started your Instagram page called Sterling Financial Official?
Sterling's Financial Solutions.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So I did financial economics in uni. And obviously I liked it. I wanted to do economics because I just felt like economics was a subject for me because I'm a very inquisitive person. I like to understand things, and economics has just got a bit of everything. It's got business, it's got accounting, it's got finance, it's got politics, sociology, psychology, just all molded into one. So I just thought, you know what, obviously I can't study all these subjects, unfortunately, innit?
Yeah.
But let me do economics. But then I'm a maths guy, innit? I like numbers, innit? So I wanted to do financial economics. So obviously financial economics, it's in the pudding's in the name. The name's in the pudding or whatever.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to do more aligned to the finance stuff. So got into that, learned a lot, really liked it. Came out of uni, got a job, hated it, left the job. And then I just went on a quest to just study money and economics and how it actually works. And I learned going down the rabbit hole, as we call it, a lot of the stuff I learned in traditional finance and in uni and stuff was just completely off. And so as I dug deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, I basically felt finessed.
Really?
I felt like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good and it helped me understand the other stuff I was learning. But then it just, basically the people that run the world, they create their educational system. So it was no surprise to me that, they've watered down some things. And then on my own quest, I've found out certain things. So that's how I, got into studying the what money actually is, going deeper and deeper into that. And I just felt I needed to, start a page, put, we call it contrarian views, innit? So it's different views to what, traditional finance people put out there.
And how long ago did you start your Instagram page where you started giving information?
I started it last year. I only really got serious about it this year.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
What sort of information do you put out just so that your audience, our audience and your audience can kind of know what the purpose of it is really?
Yeah, so just a bit of everything, innit? Like I said, I did economics, so I go into politics, I go into investing a lot. I go into business, I just sort of I call myself more I'm probably more of a financial commentator. I just kind of information, put my spin on it. Because obviously you can see an article and it might be a headline, 50,000 jobs lost at this XY company. Put a spin on it, why this company's gone bust, what caused them to go bust, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you, do you think that anyone who's done the type of studying that you've done, i.e. in university, would they know what you know, or did you kind of go down a different type of rabbit hole, if that makes sense?
Nah, they wouldn't know.
How did you go into the direction that you're going into now, basically? Not non-mainstream, I would say, more so.
So I would say You know, like I just always feel like as human beings, we've got a strong intuition, innit? So we kind of know what's right sometimes. We might not know exactly what we're looking for, but if we find what we're looking for, or we hear what we're looking for, it will just like click in our brain, like, yo, this is the truth. Like,
Yeah.
or maybe not 100% the truth, but you'd be like, that's making a lot of sense. And then that would,
Yeah.
you know, when you start digging into that, and then you'd start putting the puzzles together, and then the deeper and deeper you get, like your intuition is not going to lie to you. It's going to tell you whether what you're looking at is, you know, crap or whether it's the truth. So I just felt like what was going on a lot with me. Like I was sort of just, I had to unlearn a lot of things, learn new things. So yeah.
So you kind of felt guided basically to that there was a lot more for you to become aware of, basically.
100%, yeah. Otherwise, I just kind of felt like I would be like a zombie or something, like just going in one direction kind of thing. So yeah, it was quite refreshing. It was scary at the same time, and obviously it kind of led to, you know, people think, you know, obviously when you come with different views, you know, like you know how people get in it, like people think it's rubbish, some people think you're crazy, like just all sorts of things in it. And I've always been reassured in myself, like I'm a quite confident person, so all right, you guys ain't got to listen to me, but you know, one day you have to, kind of thing, innit? So
because once you know what you know, you know what you know.
Yeah, and there's always going to be other people out there that resonate with whether, even though your friends might have not initially resonated what you were saying or wanted to take note of things that you were saying, you've obviously managed to get yourself quite a good following in a decent space of time, and it's probably been quite organic. Because I don't know if you've done have you done any advertising or anything like that for your social media? Has it all been organic growth?
No, I've done a few ads, but a couple of my ads have been rejected. Instagram's rejected quite a few of my ads. Like,
oh really? Is that for the information that you're putting out there, trying to elevate the masses?
100%. You know how these tech companies be these days, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like that's why, for me, like I found Fola's Instagram page initially, and I personally found it extremely useful. For someone where finance is not necessarily my direct expertise, it's something that I really wanted to make sure I educated myself on this year, because I felt like it was necessary more than now more than ever. For people who are aware that we are moving towards a cashless society. So for me, it was kind of very urgent. Like it was a matter of urgency to know how am I going to make money, and how can I make sure that I'm not a part of that reality, or be forced to be a part of that reality, basically.
100%.
And I think as well, for me and Chanel personally, one of our kind of main focuses is creating generational wealth, which I feel like a lot of the information that you give out, a lot of people can ascertain that. And a lot of people don't even know what generational wealth means.
Or really looks
like. Because a lot of us haven't experienced that. Because I do think somewhere along the line, especially in the Black community, I feel like we lost the way slightly.
Well, there's a lot of miseducation nowadays.
There is, definitely.
And I definitely feel like it all started after slavery.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me personally, like my nan, she was a very good saver, but all she would tell me to do is save my pennies. And what is saving anymore, you know? Like... what would you advise for people who are currently just saving and putting their money in their account and, you know, getting good interest rates? What would you advise that they do with their funds in this current climate?
Yeah, very good question, man. I really like that question. So, you know, interest rates of what, like 0.1% or something. So the banks are basically telling you, don't save your money. We don't want your money. Get it out into the economy, which is why, you know, interest rates were slashed. That's actually a policy that, you know, is implemented when they want spending. Because remember, we live in a spending-driven economy. So spending is what makes the economy go around. We, you know, many years ago, we did have, you know, productivity and savings and stuff, but we've moved a long way from that. Like, it's not just us as Black people. Like, the whole world has just kind of lost their touch with that kind of, or most of the world anyway, has lost the touch of that kind of produce more than you consume, you know, save more, spend less than you earn. Like, do you know what I mean? Because what's happened, credit has just blown up, and you know, people are able to spend more than they earn. Like literally, if I earn 25 grand a year, if I got a 10 grand limit credit card, I can spend 35 grand. But I didn't earn money, so I shouldn't technically be able to spend it.
Spend it now.
And so you know. And so, you know, like, first things first is you've got to understand what real money is, and real, like, going back in history, what has always been real money? What was, what's always been used by like our ancestors and stuff? They were using gold and silver.
Gold.
Gold.
Yeah.
Gold, silver was more for, the common man, in the marketplace, to buy and stuff. And then gold was probably, used by like, kings and queens, and, some elites and stuff.
Which I identify myself as a queen, so I need to start using gold. Are you a king too?
So you've got to get back to start saving in, your hard assets, which is, gold and silver. So I would just say to your listeners, or anyone that is listening, every month, take a portion of your earnings, take a portion of your paper money and convert it into real money. Because what happens is, what gold and silver do for you is they protect your purchasing power, but they also enhance it, because paper currency has been losing value against gold and silver for years. So basically you're just like you're teleporting your earnings, your productivity into the future, but you're getting it back with even more. Like you can purchase more services. Whereas when you're saving in your bank account, you're saving in cash, like you're going to be able to get less goods and services for your money in the future. So
it's very true.
Perfect. Yeah.
And do you feel like we could potentially end up going back to a way of living where gold and silver is a form of currency, and that is what people are exchanging for goods? Do you feel like we could end up back there?
It's a tricky one, because going back to the gold standard that we had, it makes governments have to be fiscally responsible. And as we all know, governments don't want to be responsible. So I'll give you a bit of context. So we used to have a gold standard up until, I think, 1971, where basically we got onto a fiat standard. So all currencies were taken off the gold standard and pegged onto the US dollar, but the dollar was taken off, because basically what happened was the US dollar used to be as good as gold. You used to be able to go to the US, hand over $1, and I think $35, and it got you an ounce of gold. So So basically, that was the US government's guarantee. But what happened was a lot of a lot of people from France started, I think they started to become aware of some economics instabilities. They started to become aware that the US was printing more paper claims for the gold than they had gold in the vaults, because obviously it's just human beings, like if everyone's not going to need their metals at the same time.
It's very true.
Human beings are greedy. It's just the incentive to just cheat, basically, isn't it, effectively. So a lot of people started noticing that this was going on. So a lot of people started going to the US to reclaim their gold, and basically effectively dump the dollars. So because the US didn't have all the gold for all the paper claims, they suspended the dollar claim for gold. So and then they made gold illegal for normal citizens to hold. So a lot of citizens handed in gold. Then they revalued the gold. So they basically stole from everyone, effectively.
Wow, with like really slippery legislation.
Yeah.
You know how
crazy.
it is. They pass things into law. You think, you're doing your country a favor. What they're actually just stealing from you, effectively. So to go back to that standard, I don't know, because obviously, again, someone would have to be responsible. Are people going to audit these vaults every week? I don't see that happening. I see more decentralization happening. So currency becomes it becomes a choice. Like, people use what they want to use instead of being forced to use the dollar, use the euro, use the pound, because people are losing faith in their home currencies, because it's like this year's just dropped the bomb and everyone's just aware of what's going on. You guys just print all this money, like dump it on
literally.
Like, there's no free lunch. When you put all this money, you are diluting all the save. You're punishing savers, basically. You're punishing savers. That's what you're doing. So I feel like the jig is up. More people, more than ever, are realizing this, and so a lot of people. That's what's kind of starting. mania and people wanting to use other forms of currencies, people not wanting to store their wealth in, their home currency. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, but I do feel like as well, like there's a lot of things personally that I think if we do move towards a cashless society, which would obviously be governed by the government, I feel like it could cause a lot of problems for people who don't necessarily make their money through online transfers and make their money in cash. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it is definitely going to make a difference to society, and it's definitely going to break down the classes of society, because like I said, a lot of people, there's even a lot of old school people that, like, not necessarily people who are on the road or people who have a little side hustle. I'm even talking about older people. Like, I got a friend whose dad who's been a builder for 50, 60 years, and for tax purposes, he takes cash for all his jobs. Mm-hmm. What's he going to do if we go into a cashless society? It's going to cause a lot more red tape. And I feel like, as much as people are talking about Bitcoin and all these other, like, I think there's one called Litecoin as well, like all these other coins, like, are they going to be regulated? Are transactions going to be monitored the same way as they're monitored in the bank?
I think it'll be worse.
It'll be a lot worse, and it will be a lot more traceable, I think.
Definitely. Definitely, because you're going to force anyone who does want a bit of freedom, to earn a little bit of cash in hand, to have to be in the system, on the records. I know some people say, oh, well, you should be anyway.
For whose benefit?
But at the same time, it's kind of like, you do, if you just make your money, you should be able to just make your money
and do what you want with it. Yeah, no, 100%.
But yeah, what do you think, though, about what Leah asked?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned Bitcoin, because to some degree, you're right. Bitcoin is it's a public ledger, effectively. All the transactions are seen, everything's transparent. The thing is, I think they're going to bring out their own digital currencies.
Yeah, I think so too. Mm-hmm.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to bring out their own digital currencies. And where, Bitcoin can be traced, it can be tracked. It's not 100% private. There are ways to be private with it, and there are some other privacy coins. The benefit that you get with Bitcoin is that your transaction can't be censored. So I can send money to whoever I want to send money to. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whereas if I'm using the government or the bank, central bank digital currency, they will likely stop certain transactions, and it will be the same as a bank account, but just even worse, because they're completely in control. At least Bitcoin's a bit like no one's in control of it. It's just a network that runs itself. Yes, it's not 100% private, but it's I'm in control. I'm in control of my money, basically, if that makes sense. Yes, okay, you shouldn't be using something like Bitcoin to commit crime, because you're probably going to get caught. If you want to use Bitcoin to, conduct some business, let's say, for instance, all right, so there's a lot of trade wars going on between, the US and China and stuff. Let's say a billionaire, wanted to move all his wealth to China. He wants to relocate to China. He's given up on America. Screw America, screw the American dream. I'm going to go live in China. He's got billions worth in dollars. He wants to move his dollars to China. Yeah. Do you think the government's going to allow him to do that with their central bank digital currency? They're going to claim some sort of money laundering, or they're going to make up some excuse. Whereas with Bitcoin, you don't have that problem. And everyone can see that you're moving your money, but at least you're able to move your money, if that makes sense.
It's true. Yeah. And I guess if we do move to, when we do, because we know it's going to happen, when we do move to that cashless society, I guess people might become comfortable with the transparency of coins like Bitcoin, and it won't be so much of a thing where it's like, oh, that person can see my transactions. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I think as well, I feel like, again, I feel like it could be a positive, especially in terms of education, because I feel like a lot of the time a lot of us want to hide our financial situation. A lot of us don't like being open and transparent about our financial situation, even now. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone says, oh, do you mind me asking how much you earn? Or do you mind me asking how much your rent is? Or do you mind me asking how much your mortgage is? It is very taboo, and people feel uncomfortable. But I feel like there should be some comfortability in speaking about finances, because that will help educate people. Definitely. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, especially for the younger generation as well, I feel like if if we were educated the way we should have been in schools, in universities, about the financial system and actually how money really works, it wouldn't be such a taboo subject. But we still have issues where men get paid more than women. That's still an issue. Do you know what I mean? That's a part of the reason why you create the taboo. There are people that are still being underpaid for certain roles for different reasons. There's ageism. Do you know what I mean? There's so much issues. And I feel like that's why people feel so uncomfortable speaking about their finances. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's really interesting.
I actually wanted to ask you, there's always like this kind of question mark with some people that haven't got into Bitcoin and want to. So how do you actually access your funds when you have Bitcoin?
Yeah. And
also, if for instance you did get, because in the bank, I know that if you've got, and this is to anyone who's got a bank account, if you've got like over a certain amount of money, like I don't know what that figure is, but if you've got over a certain amount of money, you can't just withdraw it. You don't think you can withdraw one in 10K
a day
within a certain amount of time, depending on what account you have. So even if you've got a couple million in the bank, you can't withdraw that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So with Bitcoin, you could send money from your bank to Bitcoin? Like, is that a way that you can transfer large funds? How do you access those funds? Do things only have to be online purchases? Can you get that out in cash? Do you know what I mean? Like, because those for me, because I don't do Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But there's always been kind of questions, and whenever I ask people, even people that do it, I never really get a straightforward answer.
Yeah.
So maybe you can put some
light on
clarity, light on that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like Bitcoin is first of all, it runs on top of the internet. So you do need some sort of internet connection to access your funds. If you wanted cash for your Bitcoin, you would obviously have to, get a private sell, sell to someone else who wanted, there might be someone who didn't want to buy Bitcoin the traditional way, using their debit card or bank transfer, because that's how you have to put Bitcoin on the exchanges. So there's going to be people for good reason that want to not do that.
Pay cash.
They're not doing anything illegal, but it's just, like I said, Bitcoin is very transparent. The way you get in and out of the system is through, your bank account. So the banks know you're buying it. It's not like no secret to them. They know you're buying it. Effectively, they can't stop you as of yet because, it's not illegal.
Do you think they might try and do that at some point?
Maybe, but I don't think it will work, because think about it like this. Governments have said, drugs are illegal. How well is that going? People still use drugs. It's just, it will create a different market for it. If they ban Bitcoin, first of all, it kind of validates Bitcoin's threat to them, number one. Number two, no one's going to listen. People are still, you'll get a lot of decent, people won't be using Amazon and that. They'll be using underground marketplaces to transact, which I think will be quite healthy, because at the end of the day, companies are creating a monopoly. They're forcing high street businesses out of business. So, maybe this is they kind of kick back at them kind of thing. Bitcoin is look, this is my ledger USB. So let's say I wanted to hop on a plane. I got £1 million. I got £1 million worth of Bitcoin. I put this USB in my pocket. No one knows, I've got this with me. £1 million in cash. I'm not going to make it through the border. They're going to,
of course.
£1 million in gold. It's like, where are you going with all that gold? That needs to stay in this country.
Of course.
That's so the sort of,
So, but how? Okay, so you put your little USB in your pocket.
So no, so
get to how go.
Wait. Let's rewind. How do you? Because personally, for me, I've only recently got into Bitcoin. So how I purchased my Bitcoin is via Coinbase, right? Which is an app. So say I owned one full Bitcoin, which I think today, what's the current rate? Like 18,000 US per Bitcoin, something like that. It's hit that.
I think it's like 19,000 at the minute.
Oh wow, that's good. I better check to see how I'm doing. But yeah, so it's obviously 19,000. So say I owned one whole Bitcoin. How do you get that one whole Bitcoin onto your USB that you're going to take on your flight with you?
So it's like basically Bitcoin works with addresses, isn't it? So bank accounts, we got sort code and account numbers. With Bitcoin, you get a long like random characters like 3 W Y S A Z. You just copy that, you fire up a USB, If you got a Ledger comes with an app called Ledger Live. You fire up your USB, plug it in, copy the receiving address into where it says address, you see. Press continue, press how much you want to send. Then it'll ask you to confirm the transaction on the ledger. So you got to click like the two buttons on the top. I think I'll try to show you. Can you see those two buttons? Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
So basically, like no one can send money. Like, that's why it's safer to keep it on this, because somewhere like Coinbase, they could go bust tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? And somewhere Coinbase is like, I suspect, are doing the same thing as banks, where they don't have all the Bitcoin that they claim they have. So
yeah, very true.
That's why they crash a lot of the time when like Bitcoin's price is going too wild. I don't know if you've experienced that, but
no, not yet.
Yeah, so when Bitcoin's price is going too wild, like they crash and say their servers can't handle it, but it's because they're trying to limit the traffic and limit the inflows and the outflows onto their platform.
So where would you advise if someone was, so if I was to take my money out of the Coinbase Bitcoin, which probably, is there a way for me to transfer? Because I personally know a lot of people who are new to this are using apps like Coinbase. So how would someone transfer what they've invested via Coinbase onto your little blockchain thing?
Yeah, so that's what I was just advising. So you can get a ledger. I think the website is ledger.com, or you can get a Trezor. I think you can get them off. I don't know if Trezor's got a website. I think you can get the Trezors off Amazon. Make sure they're brand new though, because you get like a recovery phase. Obviously, you don't want it to be a used one, because someone could tamper with it and then have your recovery phase.
Yeah, of course.
One day you just wake up and all your money's gone. That's the thing about Bitcoin. Like, if you lose your funds, that's it. There's no one to refund you, kind of thing. But comes great responsibility. I'd rather have control of my own money than have it with the bank. Yeah, they're going to refund me if I lose it, but the banks are also oppressing me. You know what I mean? Like they're
of course.
They're picking and choosing who they're going to borrow money to. Credit scores great in that, but at the same time, people got good credit scores, they still get no's from the bank sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, as I was explaining, you just so you go on Coinbase, you'll click send, you'll fire up your USB, you plug it in, fire up the Ledger Live app, click receive, then it will display your address. You copy that address, you copy it onto the Coinbase platform, click send, paste the address, then send, click whatever amount you want to send, press that. It's really easy. It's just a copy and pasting, really.
Okay, well, I would love if you could do a little demo on your little Instagram or YouTube, whatever you got going on, for people who, like a little video demo for people, because a lot of people don't. Even my friend, she messaged me, she's like, Lee, because everyone calls me Lee for short. Lee, what do I do with this? I know it's got something to do with Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? She's invested money in Bitcoin, but she's bought the ledger, but she has no idea what she's doing with it. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who don't know how to transfer their funds onto a ledger so it's safe. But yeah, no, I love the idea of that you can just carry your money in your pocket. I don't even need a wallet. Do you know what I mean?
Like a whole life saving.
Good content suggestion as well, actually. I should actually do that. I'm gonna put that together. Yeah, thanks for that.
It's kind of like a big myth.
Yeah,
to a lot of people.
It is a big myth. And I think where there's been, obviously Bitcoin's gone down, it's gone up. And I guess it's something new, and people are scared of the unknown, right? And I think where people are slowly but surely educating themselves on it, there is kind of again, it's like people are attached to what they know. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? They're attached to their bank account. They're attached to cash. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Personally for me, I have no issue using cash that's got the Queen's head on it. Mm-hmm. No problem whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't know if I'd only want to. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable only working with digital currencies all the time.
That's
it would be
what I was
weird for me.
Gonna say. What do you? Because even I'm at a point where I don't even really. I hate money as well,
mm-hmm.
especially because of if people do their research about it, the money is not as simple as it seems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's weird stuff around money, if you know what I mean, energetically, if that makes sense. because even when you look on notes, you can see certain things on there, like symbols and this and that. So I feel like there's a lot of weird energy attached to money. I'm not going to go too deep on it. People just do their research. But yeah, so I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't even really want to necessarily be attached to money forever. Yeah. Like literal physical cash. And it's kind of like, it's nice to be able to get into real resources and elements from the earth, which I feel like was the natural trading standard back in the day. Do you know what I mean? So what types of things as well? So we've got Bitcoin. What types of assets and investments do you think are also good besides Bitcoin that are going to sort of help to create, you know, that generational wealth that are really going to sort of work for you? And if there was a cashless system, do you think there's going to be any other types of investments that are still going to be good to get into?
Other than their gold, silver, and Bitcoin.
Other than gold and silver, so I mean, you can own. Oil's not an industry that is, you know, it's gonna slow down over the years, but I mean, it's not going anywhere for now. Like, it's not going.
See, I personally wouldn't even get into oil. Do you know what I mean? Because yet again, like, I think it depends on you as a person, and it's no judgment. Do you know what I mean? But even like trading, even like if I trade or I was looking to invest in something. So even like when I trade on the stock market, I won't invest my money into things like Facebook or certain things that I feel like are unethical, oil. Do you know what I mean? I don't even want to make a change on it. Do you know what I mean? Not from them. I don't want to put money into their platform. So even when I'm trying to make money, even if it's stock market, I'm not buying oil. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing anything. So oil, if you're slightly conscious, and I feel like, because I see a lot of people do that as well. I see people be like, and that's the thing, no judgment, do what you're doing, but I see people like that are like, oh, you know, I love the planet, I'm really ethical, and da-da-da-da, but then you're going to go and invest in oil.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Or
do you know
people,
what I mean?
like, I recently had someone who said to me, oh, I'm going to put some money in one of the pharmaceutical companies in the stock market for vaccines. And I was like, no, you're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, because again, that's contributing to your own oppression. Do you know what I mean? But it's
others,
like, again, money, people get so blinded by money and greed and just their personal circumstances. People forget all of that when it comes to making money.
Free wealth. Do you know what I mean?
I get you. I totally get you. I'm the same, you know, like I only said oil just so you know, I was just kind of giving some context. I ain't got no oil stocks right now. I'll give you some others then. So there's also the companies that dig the gold and silver out of the ground. So you can invest in the mining companies. And, you know, nothing unethical about them. They're just bringing the gold and silver out of the ground. Do you know what I mean? So look at some, you know, gold and silver mining companies. Because as gold and silver, the price is 100% going to rise. These companies stand to make more money because they've got access to mines. They know where gold and silver is, especially the silver miners as well, because silver's more volatile than gold. So when it goes down more. But when it goes up, it goes up more.
It goes up.
So they're the silver miners are gonna stand to, you know, benefit a lot from this, you know, this period that we're moving into. So, you know, look into some silver mining companies, some green energy maybe.
What do you think about like electric sort of cars and that type of
electric companies because they seem to be doing quite well at the moment?
But I wouldn't invest in Tesla though.
No, I wouldn't invest in Tesla. I mean, I have invested in some you know, electric companies that's not Tesla, which have done quite well, especially in the last like 3 months. They've done quite well. So do you feel like that's also a market that's going to continue going up and up, because obviously we're kind of moving towards that? I'm sure Boris announced that by 2030 something. What they said, they can't have a certain.
Maybe totally.
That was it. So that means all new cars are going to be electric, right?
But you know, electric cars have like you know, up to like a kilo of silver in them or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So
wow.
So it's like, you can invest in the electric companies, but don't forget what they need.
When they came,
run, you know? Because that's what electric cars have like. They have quite a bit of silver in them. I can't remember exactly how much. I think it's a kilo.
That's great. And also I like the fact that's a good way for people who are investing to break down how they choose their investments. Because I wouldn't have known. I hadn't yet done any research to be like, oh, okay, cool, there's silver in electrical cars, right? I've been eyeing up a company called Blink. I don't know if you've heard of them, and they basically distribute all the electrical charging stations in the US.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe I can drop. Stocks are still quite low at the moment. I expect it's going to go up. So I've been eyeing it up, doing a bit of research, but I am considering investing in them. But again, your point's very valid. Go back to what they're going to need, silver. Do you know what I mean? So, but the thing is, like you said, it is a bit more volatile, and I feel like as well, for me personally, it's hard to differentiate what's going to be a long-term investment for me and what's going to be a short-term investment for me. Mm-hmm. Some people, like where I'm at the moment, I'm trying to hit a financial goal by the end of the year. So right now, I've got a few long-term investments that are sitting there, but I'm trying to make short-term gains. Do you know what I mean? So for markets like silver, which is a bit more volatile, it sounds like it will be a longer-term investment rather than short-term investment. Would you agree?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, silver and gold is always, you should always have a wider time horizon with those kind of investments. But the problem is, like, you might not have to wait that long before you see your gains in silver because things are moving very rapidly. Things are moving.
True.
Also, another situation to be aware of is there's a place called the Commodities Exchange Warehouse. Yeah. So obviously you know what the name's about, commodities exchange. So they store, silver. But the problem is right now, it's the same thing. They've been, selling paper claims for silver and gold that they don't have. And what's happened is since Corona hit in March, a lot of people have been asking for delivery of their physical. They don't just want the contract saying that they've got 100,000. People have been asking for delivery. So, I think September was the last delivery month, and they had a really tough time apparently meeting that demand. They managed to meet it, but the next delivery month is in December, and the data is suggesting, obviously I don't know if they might have another trick up their sleeve, but the data is suggesting that they're really short. So there's two things that they got to do. They're kind of backed into a corner. They've either got to carry on coming onto the open market to try and buy silver off other people to fulfill their obligations, or they have to default on their promises. They have to offer cash settlements instead of actual real physical thing and say, you know what, guys, we ain't got it. Like, simple as that, we ain't got it. So two things happen in that scenario. If they come onto the market trying to, accumulate as much silver as they can, simple supply and demand, isn't it? When demand for something increases, the price. If they default on their promises, remember the market is pricing silver at a price thinking that there's X amount of supply. But then when the market discovers that there's actually X amount of supply, which is less, then the price automatically corrects. So
that's
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, me and Chanel was kind of saying, we feel like it's going to be quite a, interesting end to 2020. I feel like 2020 has been epic. I don't know, we'll discuss your experience for the year so far of Corona and everything, but I feel like a lot of things in politics, the financial system, spiritually, individually, obviously it's Christmas, it's the new year. I just feel like a lot of things are going to happen in the next kind of 4 weeks between now and the end of the year, and it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure, man. I really think it's going to be, I don't know, man, I just feel like there's a lot of distractions out there right now. I feel like part of it is to do with this up and coming. I feel like a lot of it is to do with this up and coming default for some reason. Because when we look back at wars and stuff, a lot of it has to do with the commodities. Countries get invaded because they want their natural resources.
Yeah,
so they kick up that. They kick up a lot of fuss. And
that's why they killed. That's why they killed. What's his name?
Gaddafi.
Yeah, because he wanted to create his own currency, didn't he? Yeah, and that's why they killed him.
He was trying to. Yeah, he didn't want to use the US dollar no more. So the US dollar is
dictator,
Yeah.
The US just bullies everyone, basically, isn't it? That's just the way they work, isn't it? They work on a bullying thing. That's it. Use our currency,
but or don't. But the interesting thing is, the interesting thing is the US pick who they want to bully, because they can't bully China They can't bully Russia. Do you know what I mean? And these are two countries who have said this year that they're going to stop using the US dollar.
I feel like the US dollar is gonna get tapped out at some point, and then there's gonna be a lot of problems.
Yeah, well, it has to. It has to at some point, to be honest, because China's already started dumping, like, their treasuries and their bonds and stuff like that. So basically, treasuries and bonds, just think of it as like China's been holding the US dollar. They held a lot of US dollars in it. Do you know what I mean? So they're helping the US dollar, kind of stay afloat. Do you know what I mean? The Chinese is the US's biggest creditor. Do you know what I mean? The Chinese have been borrowing money to the US for years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now China's in a position where they can stop borrowing as much money to the US, start empowering their own people, so invest the money into their own country and become a superpower. And the US doesn't like that. So, it's back and forth and stuff. But at the end of the day, the US is probably going to have to, come to terms with, reducing their living standards. Like, it's just gonna have to happen. They've been living like extravagant lifestyles for a long time.
It's very true. Yeah,
it's not sustainable, is it? It's just like they're gonna have to, in terms of lowering their standard of living, and that's just unfortunate.
It's just gonna come crashing down.
Of the population get hurt the most by that.
100%. So just back to the default that may or may not happen, in the next few weeks. So would you say then, based on that information, that it could be potentially a good time, if you haven't already got into some silver stocks, now could be a good time to get into it before the end of the year?
Yeah, because they've been hammered as well. Like so Bitcoin's been flying up and silver and gold have just been getting hammered. And I'm not stupid. I know why they're hammering it. They're trying to, cover their backs kind of thing, innit? They want to try and accumulate as much as they can. They're not going to just outright default. They're going to try and keep the game going as long as they can until they can't. So the mining companies are going to have to try and dig up more metal. So do you know?
So I was going to ask you. So because you also invest in physical silver and gold as well, don't you? So you literally don't just do it online. You don't just trade. I mean, you actually physically purchase it and own it in your hands. Do you feel like that is the way forward, or is that just your most favorite type of way of investing into it, or what is it you sort of?
Yeah, so obviously, like, at the end of the day, the whole digital gold and digital silver thing, it's all got the same incentive that I spoke about earlier, where there just isn't enough metal. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's claims of that, they've sold like 1 ounce like 500 times, so that they're leveraged up like 500 to 1. So for every 1 ounce, like, there's like 500 people that think they own that 1 ounce. So when it comes down to doomsday, a lot of people are going to find out that they didn't actually have real physical silver. Then they're going to get offered cash. But, at the end of the day, the reason why you invested in silver and gold and stuff was to sort of, get rid of your cash. So you didn't want your cash back.
And to get your returns as well.
Sorry?
And to get your returns, right?
Exactly. But also the great thing about physical is you can buy, you can barter, you can exchange. I feel like in a few years' time, like farmers, homeowners, they're going to be selling their homes for like, some gold or even some silver possibly. Do you know what I mean? Like, farmers are old school. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go to a farmer and he wants to sell up, if the pound or the dollar's crashed, and he's like, I don't want this crap. Oh yeah, I've got a couple gold bars. I got some silver. I got some Bitcoin. Yeah, you guys can work something out, because he's giving you something of value, and you're going to give him something of value as well. He doesn't want to give you his farmland for some pieces of paper or some numbers on the screen.
Yeah, very true.
Think about what owning farmland does for you. You're able to produce
total freedom.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. Do you know what I mean? You're able to grow your own food. You're able to grow food to sell.
Self-sustainability.
I think that's the biggest type of wealth that they've 100%. Robbed the day-to-day man and woman of. Do you know what I mean? Because even though some people might hear that and think, what? I wouldn't want to have a farm anyway. Do you know what I mean? But it's not even about just farm. It's about like land. I think that's another amazing asset that I think everyone should be attaining to, especially just even if you don't want to use it.
100%.
Get it for your kids. Get it for, like, when you buy a house in the UK, you don't own the land unless you've got a freehold, and then even then you might not have. Do you know what I mean? You've got just a little square
right next to your neighbour.
Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you don't
pay your mortgage for a few months and find out who really owns your home.
scam, you know, yeah. You know, and it also frightens me as well because I do know some people that bought. What do you think about the property market? Because I know some people that got a few mortgages and stuff. And what do you think's really going to happen with that?
Before he answers this question, can you please explain what mortgage means in etymology? Because I know you know, so that people can know.
I can't remember exactly the breakdown, but I know that mort is about death. So like, because with etymology, it's kind of like, it's the original root of the word. So if you go in like the dictionary nowadays, you won't see, if you look up mortgage, you'll see just the common definition, what everyone says for mortgage. But if you go into an etymology dictionary, it talks about actually where the word came from, and you find out the original meanings of the word.
Yeah.
So mortgage basically means that you're trapped till death. Basically, loosely translated, you know what I mean? And even government, if you look up etymology, I'm not going to talk about this stuff now, but even look up the etymology of government, politics, all these words, government, for instance, means to govern the minds of men, to govern the mind. Do you know what I mean? Which in itself sounds suggestive. It sounds like you're trying to run my mind. Do you know what I mean? Because no one should be trying to govern my mind apart from me, you know? So, yeah. You know,
okay. Now you can answer the question. I just want everyone to know that. But yeah.
No, that's deep. That's deep. No, people need to hear that still. But yeah. So I just feel like anyone who got a house on mortgage this year hasn't done themselves any favor at all. Interest rates are low for a reason. They want people in debt right now because they need to carry on blowing up this bubble. Like I said, like spending driven means, you know, plunging people deeper and deeper into debt, you know, because debt creates a demand for the currency, because what does the debt have to be paid in? It has to be paid in the debt denominated currency, which is the pound. So that keeps the demand for the pound going. So house prices have been overvalued for years, like literally years. Like people have been paying 500K upwards for like box flats and stuff like.
Trust me, I know. I was a estate agent for a very long time. That was kind of like my career-based, my career-based role. I was doing it for maybe 6-7 years, and I've witnessed the market even from when I started. From Twitch, I think 2014. I've witnessed the market go up, and up, and at some point, it's shocking to me how much people are willing to pay. Just like, for example, in some parts of Southeast London, people are paying over $1 million for a 4-bedroom, mid-terraced house with a decent sized garden, and maybe they can do a loft conversion, maybe they can do a side return. And it's interesting to me because people think they're making an investment and they think in a few years' time, I'm going to be able to sell this and make my money. But actually, this year, a lot of people have, if they've been lucky, have got what they paid, or they're losing money on their investments. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think...
I don't think it's going to creep back up anytime
It's not.
soon.
I feel like we've hit a peak now, and it's never going to go above. I don't think it's ever, maybe for years and years and years, maybe when we're in a whole new earth, like our grandkids, I don't think we're going to see like those prices again, because it was ridiculous. It really, really was ridiculous. And in the height of like 2016, when the market was popping, people were walking into properties and paying like 500 grand over the asking price for properties because they were just wanted the property. Do you know what I mean? They feel like they're making an investment. So what would you say for people who are maybe purchasing cash and aren't getting a mortgage? So someone who's an investor, not the average Joe who's just getting their first time buy a mortgage. What's your view on investors just buying properties cash?
Yeah, no, cash is not bad, because at the end of the day, you got to calculate your yield, because no matter what the price of the property falls down to, you're going to be able to rent that property out. Rent might come down a little bit, but who knows, innit? Do you know what I mean? Rent's sort of like, it's a weird one. Like, I can't really say where renting is going to, I mean, it's going to have to come down to some degree, I guess.
I feel like, well, given that my expertise was in rentals, I feel like prices have come down, but not as much as the purchasing price, because some people always need somewhere to live. What I will say is my advice to property investors would be to not invest in London, because whereas everyone was moving to London, a lot of the people who live in London aren't from London. They come from all over and they've come to move down for their jobs. Now that majority of people are working from home, I witnessed this year that a lot of people went back to their hometowns, went back to Liverpool or the countryside, no man's land, wherever you live, and because they're now in the position where they can work from home, they don't need to live in London.
Yeah.
So the London rental market has definitely crashed. But I feel like outside of London, it's definitely boosting the economy because there's not a need to be in London. They're not travelling to Oxford Circus every day to go to their office because their work is now letting them work from home. So I feel like the rental market, from that perspective, outside of London is definitely booming. Do you know what I mean? But I feel the London market is definitely crashing because people don't need to be in Vauxhall. People don't need to be 2 minutes to the tube anymore because where are they going?
But if we had a crash though, if we had an actual crash, even if you was a cash buyer, if you buy a property for like £1 million and then we have a mad crash in that same property that 10 years ago it was probably 250,000. If we have a mad crash, because people are saying, they're saying, and not just saying, if you're actually looking, you can see that there's going to be a massive recession.
Yeah,
one like
we've
never seen before. It's going to be like a depression.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. That's what I've read. That's what I've researched, you know what I mean? So if it got that bad, properties could easily just go back to those kinds of figures again. Like, so if you put like £1 million down cash on like, say, a 4-bed house, and you rented that out and there was like a massive crash, even if it went down like half price, but it probably would go down a lot more because it's going to be such a horrible recession. Do you feel like they will actually get their return back within a decent amount of time?
I think purchase, if they're looking to sell, like I don't know if quick flips, if you're an investor who's buying a property for a quick cash buy for a quick flip, maybe not. If you're buying for buy to let purposes, the rental market will take longer to crash because people will always need a roof over their heads. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like, yes, rents will slowly decrease. And if you want to sell, maybe you're not going to get the money you sold. But again, it depends on what perspective you're buying. Like, I wouldn't be buying no 4-bedroom house. I'd be buying a HMO. For people who don't know what that means, that's a house multiple occupancy, which means you can have more than, depending on what borough, you can basically have more than 4 people living in your property. And I'd be renting out, I'd have my house by uni. I'd be buying by uni and converting a house as 4-bed into 8 bedrooms, renting out each room. Do you know what I mean? Because again, people always need somewhere to live. So that's how, if you are going to be investing, I feel like you need to be completely liquid cash. I wouldn't advise people go out and get a mortgage. And if you do have a mortgage, a tiny mortgage, and if you're looking, it will be looking to buy to let, not for a quick flip. Because if you're doing up a house right now and you're looking to flip it in the next 2 or 3 months and looking for a buyer, again, first time, a lot of people are scared to buy. Like, first time buyers are scared to buy. They're like, might as well stay at home. If I'm going to be quarantining, I want to stay in my house, I'd rather be with my family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be upset if I didn't live with my family and I had to quarantine or was stuck in my house by myself. That's been hard for a lot of people, and a lot of people who have been in that situation have gone to be with their family during the lockdown period. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like the first time buyer market's not really there anymore. But yeah, I think if you are an investor and you have got a bit of cash and you want to do a buy to let investment outside of London, I feel like that is probably the best way to go about it. But yeah, I just want to, how have you found, just like slowly end, but how have you found 2020, like with Corona, lockdown? Do you feel like it's been of benefit to you? Do you feel like you've grown a lot in this time, or do you feel like it's been difficult?
Can we just quickly touch on bail-ins?
Ooh, bail-ins, yeah, let's go for that. Let's go.
Okay, let's go for bail-ins.
I just want people to know
Yeah.
about bail-ins. What is your understanding of it? Because when I talk to people about it, they look at me like, that wouldn't happen.
She told me about it, and I was like, what?
Yeah, they think it's too far-fetched. What do you think about it? What do you know about it?
All right, so I know it happened in Greece a few years back. People woke up and logged into their bank accounts, and I think, was it 20% of everyone's balance just shaved off, to help the national debt, help the country. So Greece isn't too far from us. You know what I mean? Like, you can argue we're a more developed country than Greece, but Greece is still in Europe. Greece is not a third world country in Africa. It's not halfway across the world. So these things are happening. Like, if you looked around and you saw houses burning around you, would you think that your house was immune from being burned down? Like, you wouldn't.
No. Yeah.
You think, okay, you know what? Like, things are getting a bit technical here. houses are burning, you know, let me...
I'm laughing because I'm like, just like if the government said there was a virus going around and everyone had the virus, would you say that you had the virus too?
So, like,
go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the cards, isn't it? I mean, I won't lie to you, if it happens in the UK, I think there's going to be some massive riots. People aren't going to accept that. Like,
can we just clarify for those who don't know, what is a bail-in, please?
So it's just like, so think about back in 2008, 2009, banks got bailed out. So banks got given money to, you know, tide themselves over and, you know, help themselves out with their debt, pull themselves out of, you know, get them liquid
and that
again.
was the government that helped
That
them.
was the government,
even though that came out of taxpayers' money.
Yeah,
it came out of it came from the government at that time, from taxpayers.
Exactly. Now think of bail-ins as the savers in the banks being told that they need to contribute to, you know, the national debt. So everyone, just imagine everyone waking up one day and, you know, 10, 15% of their savings just being zapped, you know, one day, literally overnight. These things, they don't warn you about these things because, you know, that's the whole point, isn't it?
So I assume these things are in your T's and C's with the bank, which you probably don't read. We all get T's and C's updates, which we don't read. So I assume bail-ins must be in the terms and conditions somewhere.
Because they are legislation even in England now, aren't
Exactly,
they?
yes. Exactly, yeah. So, you know, like, you're not going to be able to sue nobody about it. Like, you all sign...
Just the same way, if you got a vaccine and something happens to you, you can't sue nobody. There's no one's holding their hands up.
Exactly, exactly. Now we're talking.
That's
it's
also
all...
legislation.
You basically... sometimes we don't know what we're signing. We're clicking. Some people open accounts online. We don't even read it. We're just clicking. Like, I'm
100%. I've been guilty of that. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not reading it. Like, I mean, they're putting it in small print and putting a lot of jargon in it for a reason. They don't want you to understand it. But if you actually read some of these terms and conditions, like, you know, you'd be very shocked. You know what I mean? So, yeah, bail-ins can happen. That's why I do advocate for people to, you know, get some gold, get some silver. You're basically your own central bank. Like, that can't be taken away from...
So it's better to have it... Do you think it's better to have the gold and silver physically though, as well?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Like, I got some silver coins here.
Yeah, show us your gold and your silver.
This is my Bitcoin silver. Can you see that?
Oh, cute.
Oh, nice. Yeah, can see. Yeah.
Oh, shiny.
So, you know, yeah, so, you know, I'm prepared for the worst case scenarios. Hopefully it doesn't get...
I'm coming to your house.
I want to come my little £20 and be like, oh, can you give me the £20?
We take a trip to the farmer, get some potatoes, you know. Function, do you know what I mean? But worst case scenarios, people are going to have to be dependent on the state, because that's what the governments do. They create a problem and bring in their solution. So
definitely you advise anyone who's got money in savings right now in an ISA, in any account, to take some of that money out and invest it, ideally in an asset that they can actually hold, that's tangible. The
reason I say that is because at the end of the day, why would you want all your eggs in one basket? Like, it's just, you've got a single point of failure. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you wouldn't do that with, you know, anything else in your life. You wouldn't put your eggs in one basket. So why do it with your money? That's, you know, probably one of the most important.
They've got people like that in general though, just living like hella streamlined or hella in the box, like one job, one bank account, one way of doing. Do you know what I mean? I think we're definitely moving into a time where we have to be a lot more fluid and flexible and open in terms of having multiple income streams, multiple ways of saving. Just a lot of diversity rather than just one.
Just being savvy about it and being savvy about your finances and just taking it a little bit more seriously rather than, you know, I got paid and, you know, I just think people just need to definitely observe a little bit more and look at where the money is going and
research a little bit more.
Definitely, do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And like you said, we know that a lot of money's been printed. This year we've had furlough, we've had all these things, and I think, where did all this money come from? Because I know there's not enough taxpayers' money to be paying for all these things. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, that song that J. Cole said, I think you posted it one time as well, and he basically says like, I think it was, what did he say? We're basically in an age where we should all be able to have an app and see where we should be able to pick where our taxes are going.
Yes.
Like, that's,
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of the song now.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's the truth. Do you know what I mean? We are in that day and age, but unfortunately, they're not going to give us that control over our funds. We have to kind of take that control into our own hands.
Definitely.
So anyway, back to how have you found 2020? How's Corona affected you? Lockdown, has it been good? What's been your vibes with it all?
To be honest, it kind of got me started. It kind of got me more serious about my page because when lockdown kicked in, I started making videos, just kind of advising people to, just be careful in the stock market. The stock market actually shot back up. Obviously, we know why. They printed all the money.
Yeah.
They popped the markets back up. They created this, sense of normality. Like, okay, yeah, things are on lockdown, but everyone's making money trading stocks. Everyone's doing
Yeah.
So, people were paid to stay at home, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was it. You were paid. You're basically bribed to stay at home and just obey the rules. But I was searching, like, for answers and stuff, innit? And, I came across this book, The Price of Tomorrow. I'd recommend it to all your listeners.
I've heard of this book before. So there's a guy who's a really successful trader called Geo Paris. He's got a page called Vivid Capital. I learned my trading from him, and he also recommended that book.
Perfect book. Like, it's just like this book explains like why a financial collapse is kind of inevitable, but it's not. You don't have to be afraid. You just have to be prepared, because at the end of the day, we didn't cause the financial collapse. The financial collapse has been caused by hundreds and hundreds of years of mismanagement of funds by governments and central banks. So this book explains that even if like every taxpayer, like even if I think it was saying something like it had a crazy statistic. Like if we paid back the debt at like $1,000 a second or something for 8,000 years, we still wouldn't be able to pay it back. Like it's
crazy.
It's a myth,
that
basically.
Puts
isn't it?
things into perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
It does. Like it just makes you understand. So I came to peace with that. You know what? Things are gonna get bad, but let me just figure out how I can navigate through this, innit? So
that's what it's all about.
Like, this year woke me up a lot. I got serious about a lot of things, because I've only been stacking gold and silver for like a year. I'll be honest with you. It's not like I've been doing this for years and years. I started in 2019. So luckily I started then, because it just sort of, gave me momentum going into this year. But like, obviously when Corona hit, I just picked up even more, because to me, that was the sign that, okay, cool, this reset, this financial collapse is getting closer and closer. I mean, it could still be another 10 years away. That's the worst thing about it. But
yeah, you just don't know.
I'd rather be 10 years too early than a second late. Do you know what I mean? Like, so even I don't think it's 10 years away, by the way. But I'm just saying, like,
And
I think that having actual tangible wealth and assets is definitely the way forward on all levels, because it shows in history. Like if you do research, like all fiat currencies have failed at some point. All of them, and this what we're using now, cash, this, that, it's all fiat currency. Do you know what I mean? It's like people actually, even if you're using it, whatever, just have your backup. Do you know what I mean? Have your backups, have your land, have your gold, have your things in order. 100%. Do you know what I mean? Because regardless of even if it happens in 10 years, which none of us don't think that it will right here. Do you know what I mean? Either way, they're not reliable sources of wealth. They're not. That's not wealth.
Yeah.
Full stop.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's really good to be able to get this information out here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And again, I think it all just goes down to back to self-sustainability and being able to not have to be dependent on any system or government to get you out of any situation. So I think my tips from us would be get some land, get some gold, get some silver. And I think as well, before people are investing themselves in stocks, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, they need to make sure they're well educated so they can calculate their risk. Because I think there are a lot of people, I think where there is so much misinformation about it, there are people just throwing money in places and they're not understanding that they could potentially lose a lot of that money. Do you know what I mean? Especially where the markets are extremely volatile.
Definitely.
And I think as well, especially we don't know who the president is yet, which I won't speak about, but we know who the president is. That's going to have a big effect on what happens in the markets as well, which you probably won't know now till January. So there's a lot going on, but I think it's a good time for people to be observant. I think it's a good time for people to stay tuned into your content. because people do need to be educated. And I think for me personally, because I found your page, I really appreciate, you know, that you even created the page. I think it's really, really helpful.
So
I think
good.
especially for the women as well, who aren't necessarily even less educated on the financial markets. I think we definitely need people like you. So yeah, really, really appreciate it. And we appreciate you joining us today as well.
And can I say, kids, if you're buying Pradas and Louis Vuitton and all this stuff, look, take your £500, the £700 that you just spent on them trainers, and go find ways to turn that 700 into 1400 or 26,
and
whatever.
All you women who want your man to buy you a Birkin bag, let it go. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I was with a guy, not that I wouldn't, but if I was with a guy right now who said, babe, it's your birthday, it was my birthday the other day, here's a Birkin bag, I would say, return that, go and get me some land, go and get me some stocks, get me something that I can actually, that's gonna give me wealth. Do you know what I mean? I'm personally at that stage in my life where I don't care about material things. Do you know, I really don't. As long as I look presentable, I can have a shower every day, brush my teeth,
Eat
what
good,
I need, eat good,
healthy.
Do you know what I mean?
All them things.
That's all that matters right now, because I feel like right now it is a kind of we're in survival. You know, it is kind of, and
it kind of
fittest
is
man
that
win
to an extent. You know, it may not feel like that to some people right now, but it's kind of we're getting there. It's that, but do you know, some people are so detached. Saying that is just crazy to some people, but it's basically
that's what it is,
and it's just the beginning. I feel like,
yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't personally feel that worried about it, and it's preparation.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like what you said, like if you don't plan, you plan to fail. I definitely
100%,
kind of believe that.
yeah.
And I feel like if people take some time and educate themselves by watching the likes of yourself, the likes of us and others, then they're gonna, you know, read.
Yeah,
you're gonna be alright. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Knowledge is power. Like, and that's the only reason I'm not freaking out about what I know about the world right now. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, I can see what my other options are, and that's cool.
Yeah,
you know?
No doubt.
But yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. I'm really
I'm sure we'll be. You're more than a guest to us now. You've got a friend in us, and we look forward to seeing you flourish, your page flourish, and we look forward to keep building on our friendship as well.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate you just giving me this platform. You know, like to just get in front of your viewers. You know, I ain't been called onto a lot of platforms, but obviously because no one knows what I'm talking about. Like they're just thinking, what's this guy talking about? But obviously you guys, resonated with what I was saying. So, like I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, we like to think out of the box. And
definitely.
We resonate with people that are woke.
And also being 3 steps ahead, which I think you really, really are.
100%.
You really, really are. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it's about, being ahead.
Yeah, and being solution based as well. So yeah. So thank you again.
No worries, girls. Thanks very much, yeah.
Hey!